Lesson 9.5 is solving a quadratic equation by completing the square. So far we know how to solve quadratics by graphing, by factoring, and by using square roots. But you can only use a square root to solve if you don't have a b value. So here we're looking at an expression that's in the form x squared plus bx. So in this case we don't have a c value. Or if we do, we can add the c, we can make up our own c, sort of, so that we have x squared plus bx plus c. We're going to make it so that it's a perfect square trinomial. Remember, you can do anything to an equation as long as you do it to both sides of the equation to balance it out. So here's what we're doing. To complete the square for the expression x squared plus bx, we're going to add the square of half the coefficient of the term bx. So in other words, we're going to take the b value, take half of it, and square it. And that turns this into a perfect square trinomial, because the square root of b over 2 is just 2, the square root of x is just x. If I were to multiply these together and double it, it would turn out to be just plain old bx. Let's do a couple of these so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so it says find the value of c that makes the expression a perfect square trinomial. Then write the expression as a square of a binomial. So my b value is right here. So I need to go b over 2 squared, and so that's going to give me negative 9 squared, which equals 81. So that's my c value. So what that would do is it would turn this into x squared minus 18x plus 81. So there's the c value. I guess I should have gone c equals. And then if I write that as the square of a binomial, square root of x squared is x, minus square root of 81 is 9 squared. That's what would happen if we were to factor that. So that is the square of the binomial. Notice this value right here is what actually goes right in here. Let's do another one of these. So in this case, I'm going to do c is 13 over 2 squared, which equals 169 over 4. So there's my c value. And now my square of the binomial is going to be x squared plus, not x squared, I'm sorry, just x, plus 13 halves, and then squared. Because the square root of 169 is 13, the square root of 4 is 2. And again, like I said before, that's what's going to end up going in here. Let's do this last one. I have my c value is negative 6/5 divided by 2. So I'm going to say times 1/2. Remember, it's divided by 2, but when you divide a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So c, oh, and then this is squared. Sorry, my bad. So c is going to end up equaling, if I take this, I have a 1 and a 3, so negative 3/5 squared, or 9/25. There's the c value. That's what I would put right here. And then my square of the binomial would be x minus 3/5 squared. Alright, so the only reason we would do this is to solve a quadratic, and it must be in the form right here where you've got the ax squared plus bx equals, in this case, sort of c. We're going to make our own c. It's like this, and then we're going to have to make sure that we don't set it to 0 this time. So this is the one time where we solve and we don't let it equal 0. So the first thing I need to do here is figure out my c value. So my c value is going to be 8 over 2 squared, which is 4 squared, which is 16. So I end up with x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals, but I have to go 10 plus 16. I had to add this 16 to both sides so that it balances out. This now I can break down into x plus 4 squared equals 26. Now this takes us back to yesterday's type of problem where we're going to square root both sides. So I get x plus 4 equals positive and negative square root of 26. I know it's 5 point something. Oops. .10, so 5.1, and then I'll subtract 4 everywhere. So if I have 5.1 minus 4, that's going to give me 1.1. And if I have negative 5.1 minus 4, that's negative 9.1. So these are the two solutions for this particular one. Alright, this one I have to add 7 to both sides first. And now I'll find my c value. It's b over 2 squared, which in this case is negative 1 squared, which is 1. So it's x squared minus 2x plus 1 equals 7 plus 1. As the square of a binomial, this is x minus 1 squared equals 8. And now again I just take the square root. So x minus 1, I didn't really need the parentheses there. Square root of 8 is 2.83. So I will subtract 1, positive and negative, sorry. Add 1. So 2.83 plus 1 is 3.83. And negative 2.83 plus 1 is negative 1.83. Okay, here again I'll add 21, so x squared minus 12x equals 21. C equals negative 12 over 2 squared, which is negative 6 squared, or positive 36. So it's x squared minus 12x plus 36 equals 21 plus 36. This becomes x minus 6 squared equals 57 square root. .55, positive and negative. I'll add 6. So if I have positive 7.55 plus 6, that's 13.55. Negative 7.55 plus 6 is negative 1.55. Oops. Alright, next slide. Find the value of x, round your answer to the nearest hundredth if necessary. They're telling us the area of this triangle is 30, and I know the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is cross multiply to get 60, and then I'll distribute x squared plus 4x. This is set up to complete the square. So my c value is b over 2 squared, which remember we know is 2 squared, or 4. So I end up with x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 60 plus 4. This becomes x plus 2 squared equals 64. Square root x plus 2 equals positive and negative 8. Subtract 2, and x equals 6, or x equals negative 10, but I cannot use the negative 10, so x equals 6 in this case. And we can check it. 6, 6. That gives me 6 times 10 half of that, 60 divided by 2 is 30. So it does check out for me. Number 22. After a baseball is hit, the height and feet of the ball above the ground, t seconds after its hit, can be modeled or approximated by this equation. So I can tell that the initial vertical velocity is 64 feet per second, and it starts out at a height of 3. Determine how long it's going to take this to hit the ground. Now, they do want us to do this using the difference of two squares, or I'm sorry, completing the square. So what I need to do is first I'm going to subtract the 3 from both sides. So I have a negative 16 t squared plus 64t equals negative 3. I cannot complete the square unless my leading coefficient is 1. So I must divide everything by a negative 16. So this gives me t squared minus 4t equals 3 divided by negative 16. This is negative, this runs around to the nearest hundredth. So actually this is positive, sorry. Positive 0.19 is what I'm going to use because it's 0.1875. So I'll just make it 0.19. I now need my c value. So it's negative 4 over 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, or 4. So that gives me t squared minus 4t plus 4 equals 0.19. Oops, well, that's interesting. 0.19 plus 4. So this is t plus 2 squared and 4.19 square root. I get t plus 2 equals positive and negative. The square root of 4.19 is about 2.05. I'll subtract 2, and t will equal, if I have 2.05 minus 2 is 0.05 seconds, and the negative 2 minus 2 would be negative 4.05, and I can't have this. So it's going to hit the ground in approximately 5/100ths of a second. So it's not going to take very long at all. Alright, your assignment, if you want to start it, is lesson 9.5. This is page 608 to 610. Problems 4 to 40 even, 46, and 50.